go, Fritz.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
The Bears. The Bears.
I am the great Cornholio.
We'll see what happens.
The playoffs?
See, Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Goats!
Can you play a song? Something cool. Put my mic on!
I'm calling both games.
Oh, baby!
Are you serious? Goes down the field for Smith. Oh, he got it!
Seattle. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
Getting to last night, the Maryland and Richmond game. I don't even know what the score. I can't remember off the top of my head what the score was. Let me pull it up. But bottom line was it took another comeback from Maryland, and so the final score last night was where? Okay, there it is. 86-80. That was a lot more than I thought it was. So anyway, again, so it took another comeback, as I said, and I just want to ask this question. What is it with the Maryland teams, all of them, just needing comebacks all the time, right? We needed a comeback from in the Ravens, right? We all know the deal with the Ravens. They need to come back almost every game, it seems. I don't really know if there's been a need for a comeback in Maryland football. Well, actually, no, there was, because Maryland football, in the West Virginia game at the beginning of the year, they needed to come back to win that game. I think, did they need to come back against Indiana? I don't quite remember. So it's just, and Maryland basketball all season long so far has needed a comeback in pretty much every game except the game against Quinnipiac. I think I pronounced that right. But last night was no different, whether it was Xfinity Center or the Hyatt, the Grand Hyatt Resort in the Bahamas. No different. They needed a comeback. And, first half was ugly yet again for Maryland. And this is a theme that we've seen from them all season long. First half, the offense wasn't developing. That was a big theme. And actually, I want to say this. The first 5 minutes, first 5 to 10 minutes of the first half, even though Maryland was getting buckets, they weren't necessarily getting them from an offensive set, if you understand what I mean. And if you watched it, or if you go watch the highlights, the first 5 to 10 minutes of the first half was, and I think it was more so the first 5 minutes, was just Eric Ayala driving to the basket and getting a layup every time. And, sure, if that's open and that's, and you're able to get that, then fine. But once they start crashing the post a little bit, and once Richmond starts kind of closing in on the paint a little bit, you're going to have to kind of run your offensive set and get their defense to move around and, run the offense as any other team will do. However, last night, it didn't seem like that was really happening too much after that first 5 minutes. I feel like we kind of, Maryland kind of settled into a bit of a slump offensively. It wasn't developing. Eric Ayala or Fats Russell would bring the ball up the court for Maryland, and then they would pass it off to the two guard, whoever didn't bring the ball up, and then they kind of just stood there and didn't really watch or didn't really, move. And on the contrary, I guess you could say, is nobody else was moving, right? So whoever had the ball wasn't moving, and then at the same time, everybody else wasn't moving. There was a few there was not a few, there was many times in the first half and even the second half, but primarily the first half is what the issue was why Maryland was trailing at halftime yet again. As I said, Fats Russell or Eric Ayala would bring the ball up the court, stop, pass it off to the two guard, and then everybody just kind of stood there and looked at each other. Qudus Wahab was down in the paint near the basket. He was kind of moving around, doing whatever he's doing. Hakeem Hart was standing in the corner, just standing there, not really moving. The only two guys that were really moving were whoever the two guard was, or whoever, between the two guards, whoever didn't have the ball, and then Wahab. Those were the only guys that were really moving, and Hakeem Hart was standing in one of the corners, and then, let's see, that would have been 3, right? And then 4, so then Dante Scott was probably also out there, and he wasn't really moving either. And if he was, he would come up around the outside around the 3-point line, look for the ball. We'd pass him the ball, and he would either dribble around, not really do anything with it, not really penetrate at all. He would just kind of dribble around the outside, pass it back to the guy who passed it to him, or take an ugly 3-point shot that wasn't there for him. So it was just very frustrating to watch in the first half. The first 5 minutes seemed actually pretty decent. As I said, we were getting some layups, but I don't know that that's actually what the offense was built to do. And again, if that's open, sure, go ahead and go for it. I have no issue with it. But as I said, once Richmond starts to kind of settle in defensively, it might be difficult for you. And that's what we found last night, is that especially when you're not really letting the offense develop and you're just taking it in for a layup every time. Maryland, I felt like, was kind of looking for immediate points, and you can't really do that. You know what I mean? They were not very patient. They brought the ball up and immediately wanted to score within the next 5 seconds. That's just not how it works. Eric Ayala was the main issue when I talk about this. For me, at least last night, he was shooting outside shots early in the shot clock that he didn't need to. He would bring the ball up, and it would be like 20, 25 seconds left in the shot clock, and he's taking a 3-point jumper when a guy is, nearly in his face. And I just didn't get it. Let the offense develop, and at the same time, as the point guard, you need to let the offense develop. And also, if you're the other 4 guys on the court, you got to start moving around. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot just stand there and watch. Like, I don't know. I just don't get it. And Dante Scott took too many jumpers in the first half too. But again, I as I mentioned, that Dante Scott didn't really penetrate to the hoop all that much in the first half, or penetrate inside to the basket. Eric Ayala did in the first 5 minutes, and that is when things were looking pretty good. Yet for some reason we stopped that. And again, I don't know if that was it did, to me at least, it didn't look like it was a Richmond adjustment. It just kind of looked like we stopped doing it. And again, whether it's Eric Ayala or Fats Russell or Dante Scott, it doesn't matter who it is. Drive to the basket, right? Penetrate a little bit. Don't just pass it around the outside of the 3-point line and wait for a shot. That's not our offense this year, okay? It's just not. And, I know that everybody wants to make the 3-pointers, and, it's a great look, 3, You live by the 3, you die by the 3, and we haven't been able to hit a 3 all year, so I don't know why we keep trying to hit the 3s. I run the offense, and if that's the offense, then I'm incredibly worried, because there's no way that that's the offense. And if it is, again, then I'm pretty disappointed. So again, the first half was just kind of ugly. Yet another slow start for Maryland in the first half, and when it felt like if we did start the drive to the paint, it felt like as soon as a defender got near us, as soon as we see a defender or two near the paint, we kind of got discouraged and passed it back outside, and that's when we took that jumper with 20 or 15 seconds left in the shot clock. It's just that's not what the offense is made to do. And again, that's a theme all game. There was one play where it's just like, I called it. I watched it. This one play happened so many times that I called it, and it all checked out. It would be Fats Russell or Eric Ayala would have the ball. Wahab would come up from the paint. He would come up to the 3-point line. He would receive the pass, nearly get it stolen away as 2 guys come in on him because they know the pass is coming. He stops after he gets the ball. He looks around. He realizes, I can't really do anything up here. Passes it back to the guy who passed it to him, or he passes it to a guy who's coming up around the corner, kind of, up from the corner of the court, coming around the 3-point line, passes to him. Almost gets it stolen away again because Wahab dribbles once or twice, picks it up, and then everybody starts to kind of come in on him. And then, again, he passes it back to the guard, and we waste 5 seconds off the shot clock without doing anything. And the thing is, if you want to have the guy, if you're Wahab here, and you want to have a guy come up and around, right, like that, then, I have no issue with that, but why not, I just don't get it. Why not have the guy drive into the hoop or something? You know what I mean? get the ball and drive, right? And have kind of like almost like a pick and roll. Except Baha will pass it back to him. He'll kind of maybe move over or stop, and he'll just either take a three or look for the three, and then he doesn't have it. He's like, oh, now what do I do? It's just, I don't, it was very frustrating to watch because, again, as I said, there's no way that's what the offense was made to do. You know, and if our offense is built on the three-pointer, you gotta, you know, restructure it a little bit because that you can't, it's just, I'm sorry, but this year is just a year where you cannot rely on the three-pointer as your offense. You know, I don't know what it is, but, you know, Eric Ayala, he hasn't really made a lot of three-pointers this year. Dante Scott has kind of been, you know, I don't want to say disappointing, but he hasn't been what he's been in the past in terms of his three-point shooting. You know, a lot of guys that have, you know, been three-point shooters for us, and primarily, I think, you know, really the only guys that we really have were left are Scott and Ayala, other than Hakeem Hart, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But like, I don't know, you know, and I think last year the key was, you know, Eric Ayala, he made some of those threes. Dante Scott made some of them. And again, I don't know what happened in the offseason. I don't know what happened, but for whatever reason, this year, the shots just aren't falling from the outside for them just yet. And I don't know if they just need to get the season going a little bit before they kind of figure things out. I don't know what it is, but first 6 games here, the outside jumpers are just not falling for Eric Ayala and Dante Scott. I don't know why, but they're just not. And, you know, I don't care how good they were in their first 3 years in Maryland. It's not working right now. So I think you just kind of have to roll with what's working and, you know, move on from there. Because, again, if it's not working, it's not working. You can't do anything about it. And how about Hakeem Hart? Why don't we get him more involved? You know, there was a few plays where I think it was last week against Hofstra. He hit a few threes. And if that's what we're doing, if that's what we're trying to do is shoot threes, Hakeem Hart has been amazing. And let's see, last night, he probably had, like, how many points did he have last night? Maryland versus Richmond. You know, like the Hofstra game last week, we had Hakeem Hart hit a few threes, and then he went and shot another one and missed it, and then I felt like we didn't give him the ball after that. Like, we just kind of didn't really do much with him afterward, and that was kind of confusing to me. I think we need to get Hakeem Hart more involved. He's a guy that has proven, you know, in the past year that he can shoot the ball. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know why we don't get him more involved. Last night he was great. He had 24 points. Led the team in points. And one more thing, I just thought of this. You know, Fats Russell last night, and I'm looking at the score box here, the box score, and it says Darren Russell. And I was like, who's that? And I was like, oh, you know, forgot Fats isn't his real first name. He played 29 minutes last night. And Fats Russell's a guy that from Rhode Island, you know, there were times where at Rhode Island he would play the whole game, all 40 minutes. And I'm looking at the box score here again, and there are 3 guys that played more minutes than him. Dante Scott played 35 minutes, Hakeem Hart played 37 minutes, and Eric Ayala played 34 minutes. And going in and just thinking about that for a minute, going into the year, we heard from Mark Turgeon that this was the deepest team he's ever had. And yet he only played 3 guys off the bench: Julian Reese, Ian Martinez, and Xavier Green. Which was odd to me because, you know, you had guys come, you know, over the offseason. You know, you had a lot of transfers, as every team did this year. You know, Simon Wright, I think, came in 1 game, and he's more of a, you know, another guy like Xavier Green who doesn't really do much offensively, but he's kind of more of a defensive minutes eater. And we had another guy, Pablo, we don't mispronounce his name, but I think it's Pablo de Zubia. Pablo de Zubia, sorry. was so everybody was so excited about him. Right, and again with all these guys coming in, everybody's like, yeah, we got a lot of depth this year, and even Mark Turgeon said it. And then last night, and I don't know if it was because he wants to rest guys up because they're playing again on Saturday. It was a close game, so I guess you got to roll with your stars in that situation. I don't know what it was, but like last night, and I think even in the Hofstra game last Friday, we have all this depth, and yet we don't see a lot of guys come off the bench, which was weird. And, I think I'd like to see those guys, Simon Wright, DeZubia, and I'd like to even see not a lot of people are going to know this name, possibly, but I'd like to see Marcus Dockery get some more points. I was at the Hofstra game last week, and, we were there early, so we watched the pregame shoot-around, and Marcus Dockery can hit some shots. He looks like he's having fun out there. Like, he looks like he has a good head on his shoulders, good attitude about things, and he looks like he can hit some shots. And I don't know. I think that we just got to give him a shot because we look at Eric Ayel and Fats Russell as our two predominant point guards, and sure, Ian Martinez can come in and he can play point guard a little bit, but I don't know. I think that, we bring in Ian Martinez, and I don't know. I feel like he's not a true point guard. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's just kind of a guy that brings the ball up, kind of like Daryl Morcell in recent years, where he wasn't a true point guard. He just brought the ball up sometimes. And I don't know. Like right now, we're barely beating these teams. Try some different things out. What's the worst that can happen? So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, and a couple more takeaways from that game. Quddus Wahab really needs to stop bringing the ball down so much. And what happens is they'll give it to him in the paint. He'll get it, right? And the guy's like 6'11". Go up strong with it, right? Take a few pages out of Bruno Fernando's book and go up strong with that, right? But Wahab, he gets it, and he brings it down, and the problem is, though, when he brings it down, he stops. He brings it down and stops, starts to pivot around a little bit, and that's when the defense just starts to reach in and try to get the ball away. Sometimes they do steal the ball away, and I don't know. He just needs to stop bringing the ball down so much. I felt like he was slightly better with that last night against Richmond, but I think that's something that he needs to continue to improve on throughout the remainder of the year. We saw some flashes of good Wahab from Georgetown. We saw a few flashes of that Wahab last night. But again, as I said, take a page out of Bruno Fernando's book. Sure, Bruno might have brought the ball down sometimes, but what he would do is he would bring the ball down and kind of have this arm out to kind of protect the ball a little bit, right? And he would constantly move around, so that he couldn't get it stolen away. He didn't just stop with the ball down. Wahab gets it, stops, maybe pivots around, but he just keeps the ball here and doesn't really do much with it. So I think, again, he's only a junior, so he's still young, still has time to improve. I just think that's something that he needs to improve on down the stretch of the season. And last takeaway before we hit short break here. What was that arena? I mean, were they playing that in my garage or something? And like the ceiling was super, super low. And I think I heard something that like the main arena that they were supposed to have it in had like a leak in it, so they had to kind of move to that ballroom thing, whatever that was supposed to be. But I don't know. It was just weird looking arena. They had like banquet hall seats in there with metal bleachers. I don't know. I don't think that was supposed to be the main arena. I don't think, or main I don't even know, you can't even call it arena or stadium. It's just kind of, I guess, venue, I guess you could call it. But hey, I guess they're working with what they have. And also, I'm surprised no shots hit the ceiling either. But there are many of these in mid-season tournaments now, right? There used to be only a few. Like there used to only be, the Maui Invitational and, a select few others. And now there's like all of them, right? I think my neighbor has one. I think we might have one in the attic upstairs. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many of these different tournaments. There's like, there's, of course, the Maui, the Battle for Atlantis is a big one. The Orlando Invitational is another decent one. NIT Season Tip-Off is another big one. But now we've got like this Baha Mar thing. We've got Emerald Coast Classic. We've got, they got one in San Diego. They've got Las Vegas Invitational. They've got Brooklyn. Oh, they had one in Brooklyn. What is it? The Brooklyn Brackets or something like that. Like they got one. They had one in Mohegan Sun this year. Like there are just so many of them that I feel like there's too many, right? Every team is in a mid-season bracket right now, or a mid-season tournament right now, and I think what they should do is, because many of these they have at a same area. Like there's two in the Bahamas right now. There's the Baha Mar Championship, and there's the Battle for Atlantis, and I think it would be quite cool to see them kind of, sure, you have the championship of the Battle for Atlantis, then you have the championship for Baha Mar. Let's have those two teams play, right? Let's have like the Bahamas Championship, right? All of them. All the tournaments in the Bahamas, let's have them play let's have them all play, right? If there's a couple in Vegas, like for that reason, the Maui Invitational is in Vegas this year. I think it was in Vegas last year. I don't know why. It beats me, but it's just why is the Maui Invitational in Vegas? I don't know. But have those two Vegas tournaments play each other. Whatever. Have one big bracket.